BP added more than $70 billion to the U.S. economy last year by making investments from coast to coast. Investments like building charging hubs for fleets of electric buses in California and starting up new infrastructure in the Gulf of Mexico. It's and, not or. See what doing both means for energy nationwide at bp.com/investing in America.
For 25 years, Brightview Senior Living has been dedicated to creating an award-winning company culture so residents and families receive best-in-class services. Across our 50 communities, Brightview associates help deliver peace of mind, safety, security, transportation, daily programs, delicious food, and high-quality care if needed. Discover how our vibrant senior living communities can help you live your best life. Visit brightviewseniorliving.com to learn more. Equal housing opportunity.
America. We are endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights: life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. At Grand Canyon University, we believe in equal opportunity, and the American dream starts with purpose. To serve others in ways that promote human flourishing and create a ripple effect of transformation for generations to come. Find your purpose at Grand Canyon University. Private, Christian, affordable. Visit gcu.edu.
Hi, everyone. It's Amanda Rieger Green. Welcome to Soul Sessions. I hope everyone is doing well. This is one of those times where everything is coming together, but it's not about applying pressure. So it's very paradoxical and almost, well, actually very confusing, because so many of us have a lot of drive and momentum, and right now it feels misguided or misdirected or even unnatural. If you're feeling that strange dis-ease or discomfort or uncertainty, feel it and see where you can break up your status quo. And what I mean by that is it's a really good time, especially after the eclipse, allowing that energy to permeate through our energy field to play out, because it's going to play out over the course of this year. That energy and the energy of the full moon lunar eclipse that we had in March, it started playing out pretty rapidly. I talked about that in the Eclipse and Mercury Retrograde podcast I did a few days ago, the bonus episode. And we are seeing the effects of our emotional bodies from that. And now with this Aries solar eclipse, there is this charge forward with identity and individuality, but it feels untimely. It doesn't feel quite right. And I talked a lot about instinct. So listening to that gut instinct of, okay, what steps do I take? I'm so confused, I don't know. I am feeling that. Other people are feeling that. But there is this very beautiful and delicate peace coming with it. And that's what's different. And that's what I want to point out is the inaction or the confusion, the lack of clarity seems peaceful rather than frightening. And listen, I don't like being uncertain or unclear. I like to know what the path forward is, or know what I need to do, or know what my next best course of action is, and then swiftly take it. Well, it doesn't feel that way. I'm like, well, what is the next best thing? I'm not really sure, but it's okay. I'm just going to go over here and wash these vegetables and make a salad. I mean, and being really okay with being a little easier or just more instinctual around what can I do in my immediate environment that's going to bring me pleasure, ease, and joy or comfort. And being okay with the little things, the simplicity of things, because that will give you the grounding and the stillness for the stuff to bubble up from the unconscious. And remember, we're in Mercury retrograde. It is a reflective time, a time of looking back, a time of reviewing, a time of reorganizing your thoughts, your direction forward. And I talked about fear in the last episode, and disempowerment. Remember, we're in an 8-year in numerology. The 8 is very contrasting, meaning if the 8 energy ultimately is about empowerment, abundance, it is about living brightly, risk-taking, tapping into your infinite potential. I have shared this before. You will probably feel more in your face the converse of that. So disempowerment, self-doubt, self-defeat, confusion, delusion. Instead of feeling infinite, you're going to feel very limited by your circumstances or options. It's going to bring up all the small stuff for that stuff to filter out. And what the gift of these 2 eclipses, and by the way, eclipses happen multiple times a year. This eclipse in Aries, this total solar eclipse, it was a big deal, especially it tracked over the United States. It's tracked over some pathways where we've had eclipses before. You could actually see the eclipse. There was a lot of hype around that. The eclipse is important, but we have multiple eclipses a year, multiple new and full moons a year, lots of them to be exact. This year in 2024, we have 5 eclipses. Every year we have like 4 to 6 eclipses. Eclipses happen often and they're all pretty significant. They're transformational. They signify 6-month cycles of growth and change, either closure and new beginnings, usually both of those things simultaneously. We are always being eclipsed and grown and revolutionized and evolutionized. The planets and the stars line that stuff up for us through their gravitational pull. And, I was thinking about this, and this is so simple, but let's just dial it back down for a second. What creates the tides? The gravitational pull of the moon. We are water bodies. The planets and the stars and their alignments and configurations are always at play within ourselves personally and for us on planet Earth. This just happened to be a mass media event, and it's also been big for all the astrologers because the messaging that has been coming out is we have this big push of Aries, and then we've got this big conjunction of Jupiter and Uranus coming up in Taurus on the 20th. Those are really significant events, and all of the astrological configurations around those events are important to kind of 2 things. One, like open a portal of energy, give us a push. It's almost like we're being pushed off the cosmic diving board. You remember when you were little and you're learning to swim, or you're standing on the edge and you're trying to jump in and you have that element of going to run and jump and then you just halt? I mean, I remember that. I remember the high diving board. I was with some friends at their country club or something, and they had a low diving board and a high diving board, and I was probably like 5. And I remember I climbed up to the high diving board, and it was like I would run and go to jump and then stop. I would run and go to jump and stop. And then finally, I just walked back and got down. But I kept having that run and stop. Well, it's almost like the cosmos. Like this eclipse to me was the run and stop, and Jupiter Uranus is going to push us off the diving board. And it's not going to be scary, and we're not going to slam on any concrete. We're going to go right into the water, and then we're going to be like, do it again. Like that's how I hope and believe that I will feel within the next 6 months. Oh my gosh, I want to jump off the diving board again. That was so much fun. We are being fast-tracked right now. That's what's going on. And right now we're in a little bit of a cosmic push and pull, and April feels the most cosmically confusing, chaotic time. So find your peace. When you don't feel like doing something, or you just can't summon your oomph, or, okay, I should do this. I need to do this. Okay, let me just get this done. Let me do it the way I used to do it. If that doesn't feel natural to you, see if you can hesitate and maybe not take action where it doesn't feel natural. That's going to be following your instincts. Anything that doesn't feel natural to you, that used to be kind of knee-jerk, or I'll just get it done, I'll check this box, I'll take care of this, and something is reserving that energy within you, that's where I want you to pay attention, because I think it will be very helpful. This is a time of looking at how we self-sabotage and how we do it unconsciously so we can get conscious of it. And with Mercury retrograde in Aries, it's very personal, meaning you're rewiring the way you think, the way you perceive, the way you talk to yourself, the way you communicate with other people. It's a very empowering time for communication and boundaries, or noticing how you're interacting differently in interpersonal circumstances. So for instance, if you have a good friend or just an acquaintance, and this is somebody who normally texts you, and your normal gut visceral reaction when this person texts you is like, ugh, I got to text them back, or ugh, they're going to need something from me. And all of a sudden you get a text from them and you're like, oh, what do they need? Okay, I'll respond later. Or, oh, no big deal. If you see some real shifts in your gut visceral reactions with people, and it could be the converse of that. Somebody who you normally, oh yeah, I'll help you out with that. Oh yeah, no problem. And all of a sudden you're like, ugh, I don't want to help them. Pay attention to polarizing gut visceral reactions that are not your natural gut visceral reaction, if that makes sense. I'm trying to articulate that clearly, but anything that you normally would be exhausted or frustrated by, or just benign about, that all of a sudden you have a different gut response to, that's the kind of stuff that is bringing up the instinct that I've been talking about. And that's what's coming up from the subconscious or the unconscious terrain that Mercury is bringing into our conscious awareness to revise, recognize. Recognize would probably be the key word here. Recognize, literally rethink, recognize the way you're seeing, perceiving, and interacting with something. Pay attention to those interactions, how you either emotionally, viscerally, or mentally react or respond to something, and make note of anything that comes up for you where you see a difference in your behavior or your attitude. That's the instinctual stuff I want you to pay attention to. So I'm drilling this down a little bit because this month is not about clarity. It is actually chaotic. And we're in a 3-month in numerology. The 3 also ask us to have fun.
Hi, I'm Martha Stewart, and we're back with a new season of my podcast. This season will be even more revealing and more personal, with more entrepreneurs, more trailblazers, more live events, more Martha, and more questions from you. I'm talking to my cosmetic dermatologist, Dr. Dan Belkin, about the secrets behind my skincare. Walter Isaacson about the geniuses who changed the world. Encore Jane about creating a billion-dollar startup. Dr. Eliza Pressman about the 5 basic strategies to help parents raise good humans. Florence Fabricant about the authenticity in the world of food writing. Be sure to tune in to Season 2 of the Martha Stewart Podcast. Listen and subscribe to the Martha Stewart Podcast on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Oh, hi, I'm Rachel Zoe, and I'm back for another season of my podcast, Climbing in Heels. You might know me from the Rachel Zoe Project, or perhaps from my work as a celebrity stylist. And guess what? I'm still just as fully obsessed with all things fashion, beauty, and business. My podcast, Climbing in Heels, is all about celebrating the stories of extraordinary women, and this season, we're taking things up a notch. I'll be talking to some incredible women across so many industries, from models and beauty industry stars to doctors, entrepreneurs, and TV personalities. Climbing in Heels is here to bring you a weekly dose of glamour, inspiration, and fun. Every week, listeners will be able to ask me any questions. I'm answering it all. My life is absolutely crazy with so much going on, and I'm so beyond excited to bring you along for the ride. Whether we're talking red carpet looks, current trends, or products I'm obsessed with, I'm here to be your fashion fairy godmother. Listen to Climbing in Heels every Friday on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Truck stop brothels run by a web of ex-cons. A Commonwealth attorney wasted on whiskey and power. Protection exchanged for cash and flesh. This is Hooker Game, Criminals and Libertines in the South. And I am your host, Dr. Lindsay Byron. 3 years ago, I came across a goldmine of news clippings detailing a scandal that rocked my small southern hometown. As I flipped through each page, this forgotten story came back to life.
I was told that it was just supposed to be a massage parlor.
The big shot in Danville was Barker.
He beats me continuously.
If you print anything that you hear in that grand jury, you will be put in jail.
I never gave any massages.
Listen to Hooker Gay, Criminals and Libertines in the South on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
And we're in a 3-month in numerology. The 3 also ask us to have fun. And a lot of people out there are not having fun. A lot of people have really hard and challenging stuff going on. We all have a lot on our plates. A lot of people, I've shared this with you all, and I see it with clients and listeners and people reaching out, or just people in my life. People are struggling or have really difficult circumstances that they are walking through: personal crisis, identity crisis, money challenges, health challenges. It's coming at us in a multitude of ways. Being able to get still with that discomfort so your instincts can evolve, or at least your ears can hear, or your eyes or your inner eye can recognize the evolution of your instincts. I know that's a lot, and it's really nuanced, and I don't even know if I'm explaining it well. It's almost very sensory for me right now. I'm noticing that I am different. And I don't mean I'm different, like I'm different from you guys. I mean, I'm noticing something is different about me. Something is different within me. I feel a peace and a calm. I certainly have my little moments of fear or confusion or impatience, whatever may be coming up, or I can get triggered, or I can be impatient with my husband. Yes, I'm human. All that little messiness of the day comes up. But something fundamentally feels changed in me. I am evolving. I'm seeing it in other people. I'm seeing people in different lights. Literally, I can see the lights around them a lot of times, meaning I can see the colors and the energy if I take enough time to get clear and to tune in telepathically. And I'm not nosy, so I'm not reading people's thoughts. I don't have time for that. Got enough going on in this brain. But literally, I practice this out in the world. So at the grocery store or Target, or when I am with friends, I get as still as I can, and I just immediately look to their aura. So I have a temperature gauge on how I can sit and be more present with them, or be more compassionate towards them, or really hear what they're saying behind their words. So there's this quality of empathic listening. I learned that years ago. I don't always practice it well. Okay, let me just go ahead and tell you that. I learned empathic listening when I was in my yoga teacher training in 2015, of really being able to listen with my heart and my presence, which means getting very still and getting out of myself, the self-forgetting, and really giving my time and my energy and my presence to someone else. And I practice that oftentimes when I'm in groups of people. I don't mean when I'm at the mall and there's 20,000 people. I mean, if I go to some kind of meeting where there are other people, or I have a women's group I'm going to tomorrow night, and we're doing like a potluck by a friend. She has this kind of pond, and we're going out on her property, and we're having a women's potluck in the evening. And I genuinely look forward to spending time with those women. But I also know that I set an intention that I want to sit and really listen to them with my whole being, my whole heart. And that's coming up and has been evolving within me the last 6 months. I want to listen wholeheartedly. I want to be present for people. I want to give of my time and my presence. And also, I want to appreciate the people who do that for me. So think about how you can be more present, even if it is in your evening routine with your spouse and your children. You know, what does the evening look like, and where is there evening beauty or chaos, or, people coming in and out? How can you slow it down and create a more quality-oriented presence and space for yourself in that routine. It could be you're in your morning routine when kids are getting ready for school, or you're getting up and you're doing your things before your day. Whatever that may look like for you, see how you can slow your roll a little bit and find a sense of grounded presence, because it's very powerful, and that taps into the peace that I was mentioning of more peaceful interactions. And for me, what's healed, and this came up with a great client of mine this morning, is overwhelm. That has been something that's been part of my story a long time. It's emotional overwhelm. I can get overwhelmed by the list of things to do on my plate, my schedule, what I'm signed up for, what I have going on. And it's not that anything on my plate is too daunting or demanding. I just create this storyline of, oh my gosh, I have so much on my plate. Oh my gosh, I have so much to do today. And it's anxiety. And it's like there's this fake urgency in the world. There's a fake sense of urgency, a false sense of urgency. And if we want to go to those fear acronyms, I said this in my social media. I don't think I said it in the podcast, but this time is summoning this question of, are you going to forget everything and run? Or are you going to face everything and rise? And to me, I have not been as emotionally overwhelmed as I can ever remember. If I look back over the last 3 to 4 months, I have not been feeling an anxiety or an emotional overwhelm. I feel it every now and then, but I very resiliently go back to what's on my plate, what can I do, what is true, what is not true. And I don't always dig down into what is the fear, because the fear for me is I'm not going to get everything done and then nobody's going to love me. Right? I mean, I just simplified years of stuff for you right there. I'm not going to get everything done, and then nobody's going to love me, and then I'm going to fail my soul. That's really where it goes for me. I know I sound like a loony gal, but that's really, I'm going to let my soul down. And that's what that false sense of urgency is creating. I want you to notice that, because I think it will be a very helpful tuning fork. Think about fine-tuning this month. And I want to go back to the energy of the 3 and the playfulness and the lightheartedness. Anytime we're in a 3 energy, it wants us to connect, to socialize, and to play. It wants us to look for the lighter side of life, the sunny side of the street. Now, I do recognize that many of us are walking through very challenging circumstances at the moment. How do you bring in some sort of fun, joy, or laughter even into your challenging circumstances? And the way that I just default into that, thinking, gosh, Amanda, how do you do that? You just ask them to do it. How do you do that? The way I think about it is, I think about death and funerals and messiness. It makes me think of Steel Magnolias and how, how Sally Field goes on her crazy rant when her daughter dies and everything is out of control and it's unfair, and her friends are right there holding space for her, and by the end, she's crying and laughing. So if you're walking through something hard, I know for me, through funerals and loss and hard circumstances and things, a lot of times through the tears there laughter comes, laughter at the absurdity, laughter at the overwhelm, laughter at the lack of control and the powerlessness. So see where you can find laughter through your tears, absurdity, anything that brings you levity. And if you're not in a critical stage of grief or acute pain, and you have your everyday things on your plate, and that is feeling taxing and overwhelming and confusing as far as your way forward, your direction, find your levity. Who are the people in your life that inspire creativity? I would say between now and the end of this month, prioritize or seek out creative or inspirational people. People who are kind of mavericks, creatives, people who are a little avant-garde, do things a little differently than you do, dance to the beat of a different drum. Seek out your quirky. Let's just call it that. The quirky people in your life who kind of go their own way. And that you can appreciate that for, well, see if you can connect with them. And it may just be that you're out running errands and you see somebody and they have like a funky outfit on. You don't have the courage to wear that funky outfit, but damn, they look cool. Damn, they have a cool pair of glasses on, their hair is spiked, and those shoes do not match that outfit, but wow, I couldn't do that. Go tell them. Be like, dude, you just look cool. I don't know that I could pull that off, but you look amazing. So if you can't identify who in your life is creative, is avant-garde, is dancing to the beat of their own drum, a little bit of like the fool or the Joker energy, you know, the fool in the Shakespearean play, the fool in the tarot deck, that's where the wisdom is. It's through tears and laughter and truth and avant-garde energy. If you can't identify those people in your life, look for them out in the world and then engage with them. Even if it's saying, I love your shoes, or those glasses are freaking phenomenal. Just insert yourself into avant-garde creative energy. It's kind of signal to the universe that you're looking for the avant-garde within yourself. You're looking for the maverick within. You're looking to bust up your status quo. And another simple way to bust up your status quo.
Hi, I'm Martha Stewart, and we're back with a new season of my podcast. This season will be even more revealing and more personal, with more entrepreneurs, more trailblazers, more live events, more Martha, and more questions from you. I'm talking to my cosmetic dermatologist, Dr. Dan Belkin, about the secrets behind my skincare. Walter Isaacson about the geniuses who changed the world. Encore Jane about creating a billion-dollar startup. Dr. Eliza Pressman about the 5 basic strategies to help parents raise good humans. Florence Fabricant about the authenticity in the world of food writing. Be sure to tune in to Season 2 of the Martha Stewart Podcast. Listen and subscribe to the Martha Stewart Podcast on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Oh, hi, I'm Rachel Zoe, and I'm back for another season of my podcast, Climbing in Heels. You might know me from the Rachel Zoe Project, or perhaps from my work as a celebrity stylist. And guess what? I'm still just as fully obsessed with all things fashion, beauty, and business. My podcast, Climbing in Heels, is all about celebrating the stories of extraordinary women, and this season, we're taking things up a notch. I'll be talking to some incredible women across so many industries, from models and beauty industry stars to doctors, entrepreneurs, and TV personalities. Climbing in Heels is here to bring you a weekly dose of glamour, inspiration, and fun. Every week, listeners will be able to ask me any questions. I'm answering it all. My life is absolutely crazy with so much going on, and I'm so beyond excited to bring you along for the ride. Whether we're talking red carpet looks, current trends, or products I'm obsessed with, I'm here to be your fashion fairy godmother. Listen to Climbing in Heels every Friday on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Truck stop brothels run by a web of ex-cons. A Commonwealth attorney wasted on whiskey and power. Protection exchanged for cash and flesh. This is Hookergate, Criminals and Libertines in the South. And I am your host, Dr. Lindsay Byron. 3 years ago, I came across a goldmine of news clippings detailing a scandal that rocked my small southern hometown. As I flipped through each page, this forgotten story came back to life.
I was told that it was just supposed to be a massage parlor.
The big shot in Danville was Barker.
He beats me continuously.
If you print anything that you hear in that grand jury, you will be put in jail.
I never gave any massages.
Listen to Hookergate, Criminals and Libertines in the South on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
And another simple way to bust up your status quo, you don't have to get all serious and figure out what patterns do I need to break. In fact, I wouldn't even do that right now. I would do something like go to a different grocery store, go a different way to work. Ask somebody to pick you up to something that you would normally drive to yourself, but they live 5 doors down or going to the same place. any place you can bust up some routines and patterns, even if it's your morning routine. Let's say you get up and you immediately have a cup of coffee and then you're waking people up in the morning, getting everybody ready to go, or you're making lunches. Well, can you wake up 5 minutes earlier, 10 minutes earlier, and get up and go have your coffee outside and watch the sun come up on your balcony, out your window? Can you just do something a little differently and repeatedly do it a little differently? You will be amazed at how going to different places, going different pathways, so like a different route to work, a different grocery store, dropping your cleaning off at another cleaner's. And listen, it's Mercury retrograde, so maybe don't do that, because I don't want to hear a bunch of letters that you dropped your stuff off at a new cleaner and they messed up your favorite dress shirt. Okay, so maybe don't do that. Don't try a new cleaner right now. It's not the time to try new cleaners. But you could go to a different grocery store, because guess what happens when we go to a different grocery store? And I think I've mentioned this before, but I actually notice it. I have to figure out where things are in the grocery store. When I go to a different grocery store, the coffee is not on the same aisle in the same space on the same aisle. I don't go directly to the coffee I want or, the coconut milk I want, because I have to go look for it. That is really helpful, and it busts up neurological and neural pathways in our brain, but it also puts us in new circumstances. And I don't know if I said this on the last podcast, but this is really funny, and I want to share it. So Dennis and I, last week, we were helping his son move. His son and daughter-in-law are moving, and we went to go help them load a pod, and they had already loaded it. And at that point when you're moving and you've put a bunch of stuff in the pod or in the moving vehicle, and your brain is not creatively helping you Tetris stuff in, you need new eyes. Well, we got over there and they had a bunch of stuff they wanted to load in and very little space. So we pulled stuff out, we reorganized it, we Tetrised it. We did it actually very efficiently. The weather was kind of nice here. There was a breeze, so we were not sweating our behinds off, in typical Texas weather. It was pretty great, but we did that for them. And Dennis was like, gosh, that was really easy. He said, that was so much easier than I thought. And I was like, yeah, and it was actually a lot of fun. We got to visit, we got to catch up. And also we walked away and they were so grateful because they were tired. They've been moving and they're like repainting and doing all the things. So we were helpful to them. We enjoyed it. We enjoyed them. They enjoyed us. They were so appreciative, but we had fun. So Dennis and I go to the grocery store after, and we go to a grocery store we hadn't been to in a long time. We were in Austin. And because of the eclipse, this area had so many people coming. So we were like, we better go to the grocery store on Friday evening because our town is going to be a madhouse. So we go to this grocery store and we're in there, and this gentleman is standing, and I needed this native body wash that I like, and I was out and I need this body wash, and this gentleman is standing right in front of it, and he goes, oh, am I standing right in front of what you need? I said, you are, but I'm not in a hurry. It's not a big deal. And so he moves away, and we just kind of laugh about it. I get my body wash. Well, we're 3 aisles over and we're getting some Skinny Pop. And Dennis is like, oh, go get the Skinny Pop. Well, I walk over to the Skinny Pop, and that man is standing right in front of the Skinny Pop. And he goes, am I standing in front of what you need again? And I said, you are. And I said, are you following me? He says, maybe you're following me. And my husband is oblivious to this man and the fact that we've seen him twice and this is happening. This man and I are having this whole interaction. And he's like, maybe you're following me. And I was like, okay, just for your information, we're going 2 aisles over to get these pretzels that I like. He's like, I'll be there in a minute. And he and I are giggling and laughing, and we're having this is just a stranger interaction. But I was already in this good mood. I mean, y'all, did I want to go help people move and Tetris stuff in a pod? No, it was Friday afternoon. My dog had died last week. It was a really hard week. Do you think that I wanted to go be of service and help? No, but I was like, but yes, I want to help them. Of course I'm going to go. But I told Dennis, I was like, maybe I'm going to be in a bad mood, or maybe I don't want to do this. And he's like, Amanda, can you just have a better attitude? And I'm like, I'm trying. And then we go, and I had a great time. I enjoyed them. We felt helpful. Then we go into the grocery store, and I'm being silly with this man, and we're laughing, but there's something to interacting with people out in the world, noticing people, engaging with people. And also the thing about it is about attitude. You know, I knew I had a crummy attitude going in to help them put stuff in a pod, and not because I didn't want to be helpful, but because it had been a really hard week and I was freaking tired. You know, all of my woes and my selfishness, by the way, and I knew it was my woes and my selfishness. So I kept saying, this is going to be great. We're going to go help them. There's going to be an abundance of time. This is going to breed helpful things. Well, that set into motion a chain reaction of a really lovely Friday afternoon and evening. And come Saturday morning, I woke up really revitalized. And I noticed that. The reason I'm expressing this to you is, while this may be a small example of a chain reaction over the course of 24 hours, I noticed that when I go into things easier or with a more open attitude or with an attitude of expectancy versus expectation, who knows what could happen? This could be amazing. Sure, my schedule has been rearranged, but maybe that's because I'm being set up for something to be healthier, to be more engaging, to be more lighthearted, to be more playful, to be more fun. Where can you come at things from an attitude of expectancy versus expectation? Where can you be easier with yourself? Noticing shifts in your gut visceral reactions in order to tap into your instinctual self. Those are the things that I encourage you to pay attention to. And if you haven't listened to the Eclipse and Mercury Retrograde podcast, I encourage you to go back. There's a lot of nuggets around, yes, the astrology, but this energy wave that is going to play out over the course of the next 6 months. The eclipse was just ground zero, right? It's a new starting point. We are being fast-tracked in the next year. So the clearer you get, the more stillness and presence you can cultivate, especially being present with other people, even if it's at the grocery store, and gaining more clarity, more life force, more vitality, more connection with human beings. It's going to help you instinctually ferret out what is not real in the world. The fake news, the fake storylines, the fake agendas, the pushed agendas. There's a lot of manipulation. We all know that, whether it's in social media, in the news. There are agendas abound. But it is imperative that you get in touch with your own agenda in order to create consciously and strengthen your point of attraction. Because remember, the 8 year, for all the things it's about, it is about manifestation. And I'm going to say this because it's important to remember, with the energy of the 8, I'm laughing about this as I even go to articulate it. Whatever is going on internally for you will manifest externally. So if you are feeling fear, depletion, chaos, turmoil, anger, rage, you will encounter those kinds of circumstances externally, not because you're being punished or to hold you back and hold you down, but to wake you up to saying something's got to change, and the change starts within. So your presence and your self-awareness and summoning your strength around looking at yourself and looking within this month is very, very important for that. So I hope that's been helpful. If you are thinking about coming to the event in May that I'm having, the live event, it's in Austin, Texas on May 7th, definitely look into that. You can check it all out on my website, soulpathology.com, and I think it's /tickets. But I am so pumped about the energy of and the nature of this event and the timing of it. When we planned this months ago, and we didn't really arbitrarily pick out a date on the calendar, we looked at some dates, and of course I look at the astrology and the numerology of things. And I'm like, yeah, this makes sense. Now it makes so much more sense to me. I'm like, oh, this is why this is happening. Oh, this is so clear, because once we move into May and we have a beautiful full moon in Scorpio later on this month, which Scorpio full moons are about transformation. They're kind of like eclipses, but they're psychological and emotional eclipses. It's like snakes shedding your skin energy. So after you shed that skin, where do you begin? And the Taurus new moon that will follow that, which is when the event is such an earth-based moon. And I'm thrilled because the Herb Bar is joining us. And I went out to the Herb Bar last week and I met with Megan, who's the owner of the Herb Bar. And it was very synchronistic. And what was cool about it is my dog Tex had died on a Tuesday. And I went into Austin and met with Megan on Wednesday afternoon. And she and I just synced up. And she's going to bring so many incredible resources for people to utilize. Like there'll be a great Taurus new moon kit, but there's going to be all sorts of tinctures and flower essences and teas and herbs you can smoke. Not drugs, like herbs you can smoke. And by the way, I did that on the eclipse. She sent me with these herbs I could smoke. I told Dennis, he's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm smoking herbs. But they were so heart-opening and amazing. And all this stuff works. I have used tinctures and flower essences for years, and I've used them more consistently and more reticently, like as my non-negotiables, the last year and a half. And I have seen so much healing and growth. And that fundamental change I was talking about within myself is not only my personal and spiritual growth. It is, I tell you what, all of the tinctures and the flower essences and the teas and the things that I have incorporated, other supplements, minerals, things in my body have helped alchemize on a physical and physiological level some of the stuff that's been going on mentally and emotionally. So when I was with Megan, I told her, I said, listen, I know we're talking about the event and all these things, but let me tell you what's going on with me personally. And I said, my dog just passed away. He was 17. It's a huge chapter of my life, and he was the love of my life. And so I'm like grieving yet again. I didn't go into all of it, but I was like, here I am grieving again. And I said, what do you recommend? And she's like, oh, you have to get this sweet mimosa elixir. She's like, it's amazing. Nope, this is what you need. This is absolutely. I said, well, I knew you knew what I would need. So of course I get in the car and I'm like, give me the sweet mimosa. I start using it immediately. But I tell you what, that was probably 2:00 on Wednesday. By the time 6:00 rolled around, I used the little tincture under my tongue, and then I went about what I was doing. By 6:00, now mind you, my dog had just died within 24 hours of this, just a little bit more than 24 hours. And like I said, he was 17 years old. By 6:00, I was going to meet a group of women, and I literally felt so much love, so much appreciation, so much heart-centered devotion and almost ecstasy. And I was not on drugs, y'all. I promise you. I was this is literally, I had used 3 droppers of this tincture. And then I also bought some mushroom chocolate. So it was like chaga and turkey tail and dark chocolate. So I had 2 squares of that and the tincture. And I had also just been praying and setting intentions. And I had driven into Austin. I was driving back to Wimberley. It was a beautiful day. There were a whole confluence of things going on. But all of a sudden, I felt a lightness and a release. A relief, a release, a healing. But that tincture, I've been using it, and I have seen a profound shift in myself and within, not only the stuff that I've been talking about over months, but as far as my resiliency and healing grief and coming from the heart and letting that grief process. It's creating a peace that I am starting to ground in that's becoming more natural than my chaos. And I'm craving the peace and not the chaos. And most of us are used to chaos because we can control and manage it. It's the devil you know. So when the peace starts to flood in, it's unnatural at first. But once it starts to flood in more often and you start accepting it and integrating it and you have good tools like the Herb Bar, and that's why I'm having them at my event, because I think it will help. I know it will help people because it's helped me and it helps a lot of friends I know. When we can use our resources from the natural world, from the plant kingdom, to help us in homeopathic ways in our ascension process, into our integration of of 5-dimensional energy coming through the 4th dimensional realm, which is very emotional and psychological energy. When we can ground that heart-centered energy in and bring more light into our bodies, the chaos starts to become unnatural, and then we start to instinctually behave differently. That's the alchemical process that is going on over the course of the next year and a half. A shift into love, a shift into healing. And I may sound silly to you when I say this, but I'm fundamentally believing it and embracing it, and I'm seeing it in other people. And I'm also seeing the chaos in other people through a different lens. And that to me is different. Sometimes I have my little instinctual, judgmental actions. I'm human. But more quickly, I can get into what is this teaching me and how can I be more heart-centered? How can I be more compassionate? So if you want to come to the event, definitely come. If you're in Austin, Texas, or want to take a trip to Austin, Texas, I encourage you to come on out. It's really going to be fun. And I'm hoping we can have Megan on the podcast before the event. Megan, who owns the Herb Bar in Austin, Texas. She's a wealth of knowledge, so hopefully I will have her on at some point to share some wisdom with you all, and she can give some specific recommendations for everyone out there and where to get those tinctures, or she can give you some good guidance so you can locally source supplements and tinctures and flower essences that are more local to wherever you are, because I think that is important too. Locally sourced tinctures or plant-based medicine, because it works with us more profoundly and more effectively. So anyway, I hope you all are doing well, and I'm sending you so much light. I'm sending you so much lice. Like, see, Mercury Retrograde strikes again. I'm sending you all lice. Not really. Like, please, I hope you don't have lice. Anybody out there who has lice or has a child that has lice, I hope you can get rid of that quickly. But remember, everything is coming together. See where you can alleviate some of the pressure. Take your foot off the gas a little bit and enjoy the ride. Coast a little bit and smile. Smile. Smiling is good for us. Smiling actually changes our brain frequency, so smile. All right, everyone, be well.
Diamonds Direct spring sale starts this weekend. Get 20% off rings, earrings, pendants, bracelets, and more. It's the best store-wide sale of the season. Plus, book an appointment and get an additional $100 off. That's 20% off plus $100 off store-wide. And enjoy an expanded selection of the latest styles with designer appearances each weekend. Tons of engagement rings on sale too. 20% off. Starts Friday and opens Sundays. Details at diamondsdirect.com.
For 25 years, Brightview Senior Living has been dedicated to creating an award-winning company culture, so residents and families receive best-in-class services. Across our 50 communities, Brightview associates help deliver peace of mind, safety, security, transportation, daily programs, delicious food, and high-quality care if needed. Discover how our vibrant senior living communities can help you live your best life. Visit brightviewseniorliving.com to learn more. Equal housing opportunity.
Hi, I'm Martha Stewart, and we're back with a new season of my podcast. This season will be even more revealing and more personal, with more entrepreneurs, more live events, and more questions from you. I'm talking to my cosmetic dermatologist, Dr. Dan Belkin, about the secrets behind my skincare. Encore Jane about creating a billion-dollar startup. Walter Isaacson about the geniuses who changed the world. Listen and subscribe to the Martha Stewart podcast on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.